Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth, shifting you into higher consciousness. A show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, interviews with inspiring guests, experts, and celebrities, intuitive readings, channeled messages, mental health awareness, and hot topics to expand your awareness. Tune in for unprecedented truth, authenticity, on-purpose discussions, and magic.
Very, very quickly. I wrote the book in 6 months. And when I first started, I had no idea what I was going to write about. I just knew I was supposed to write a book. And one night I was meeting on the astral plane with my guides, and we're all discussing the title of the book. And the same 3 words kept coming out. And so I reached next to me and grabbed my journal and scribbled down what we were talking about, several different versions of the same phrase. And I had no memory of it when I woke up, except that I opened my book and I saw in front of me K9 spirit guides. So then I knew what I was writing about, but I still didn't truly understand. Because I've had such a diverse history with dogs. I've been a dog trainer, a professional dog trainer, a professional competitor in 3 different dog sports. I've always been a dog person my whole life. I just thought it was a passion and a hobby. I didn't think it was my mainstream. But when I started writing this book, they told me what dogs to put in the book. I've had 30 personal dogs. And so they chose 10 of my dogs to start writing about. And what I didn't understand was that what I was actually writing about was the healing that these dogs were offering me when they appeared in my life. And so as I wrote the book, the guide started to channel through me exactly how to put it together, what to say, what it all meant. And then they started introducing themselves to me, gave me their names, their stories, the tools that they're using, how they're working with me. And I thought it was just about me. I thought, oh, I'm going to share a great story. And when I got done with the whole book and I realized that they had led me through this journey of intense, deep spiritual healing throughout the whole process of writing the book, that I finally realized the point was that I was to bring this healing to humanity, not just the story, but the actual healing that they used with me. And that kind of blew me away because number one, I didn't know I could channel. I had never done anything like this before. I had never even meditated before I started writing the book. So this was a massive transition that happened very quickly in just a 7-month period. And lifetimes of pain and trauma and karma and ancestral entanglements that were huge were just completely disintegrated and lifted up out of my energetic field instantly. With the tools that they have to offer. And they're telling me it's sort of advanced technology that we've had access to before, but we weren't ready to experience it as a race. Humanity wasn't ready for it. And so that's what they're here to teach us now and to show us that healing doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to take a long time. And in fact, you don't even have to understand what you're healing from. You just have to be willing to heal and they'll take care of it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Are they on the other side? Like if, for example, if someone passes away and they're on the other side, even though they are an energy now, they are still that person as an identity, usually in some form. So sometimes dogs on the other side, also the same thing. Are these dogs on the other side, or are they energies or guides just going through the dog?
Right? They're from another galaxy. They're not even dog entities. They're a collective of healing energies. They identify with us as dogs because of how we perceive dogs.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And you know what? You want to say your question first? This just popped in my head.
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to know because I think this is something that people would want to know, and maybe you've asked yourself, why me? If you weren't doing this before, what happened to make them choose you?
That's a great question. And I did ask that question.
Yeah.
Apparently, number one, this was an orchestrated event for this specific time. And in my book, I describe the exact time when everything was triggered into motion. It was a call to arms, I call it, and I'm not going to give away what happened in the book because it's really extraordinary. So I don't want to give it away. But there was a call to arms where everybody, all of my guides went, she's ready, she's ready, she's ready, let's go. And I perceived the signal, but I didn't know what it meant. I just knew something big was about to happen. And it kind of just washed over me, even though I didn't know what it was. And it was 2 years later before everything started to actually happen. But the reason that it's me is because this is the role that I have always played with them in every dimension, on every planet where I have been. I've always been their spokesperson and their caregiver. I'm the one who is like their gatekeeper, who inspects the people who come to work with them, because in other dimensions, animals are actually incredibly highly advanced spiritual beings. And even the humanoids in other planets and in other galaxies are not as advanced as the animaloids will say. So everyone goes to these animal frequencies to gain access to higher learning and healing and higher understanding. So that's how they're coming through for me. And that's why it's so easy for me. And that's why they will only talk to me, because I've always served in this role with them. This is what they've told me. And they won't speak to anybody else. I had a mentor throughout this entire process because I didn't understand what was happening. And they wouldn't talk to him. They would only validate my questions. And he'd say, they said, that's correct, but they would not let him in.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fascinating. Who are the core for in your book? You talk about that, and then how did they come through your dogs for you? And can you talk a little bit about healing? You said they healed so much trauma and rage and different things.
Oh yeah, things that I did not even know I had inside me. So the core four are the first four guides. There are a total of over 50 canine spirit guides that we're going to be meeting over the next few years. And so the first four have come through as an introduction so that we can kind of get to know them. And they represent core values and concepts that we need to understand before we're ready to fully work with them. So we have Anthea, Oscar, Oregon, and Daman Eric. And they're each at a different level of healing and exploration and understanding. So Anthea and Oscar, they work on base level trauma and lies that we tell ourselves and beliefs we have about ourselves that aren't true. And they call them tags. So like, I'm not loved, a sense of betrayal, you can't trust, and Oscar is all about the voice and your courage. So when we are traumatized, we go within, we can't speak our truth, we don't stand our ground and speak up for ourselves, and we don't have the courage anymore because we're just beat down and we just become submissive. So Oscar is here to help us with that. And then Oregon, who is on the cover of the book, to me she's the most magnificent, and she's a more advanced being. This is an example of how they identify with a dog and a wild animal spirit. So Oregon is a Basenji and a Black Panther. The Basenji is like her personality, her character, and also the character traits that she's going to be working with you on. And the Panther is the energy, the magnitude of the work that they have to offer. But she's much more elevated. So the first two are at kind of the same level, and they work with a lot of the people that I work with in my healing sessions, because we have to get that base layer cleared out first before we can expand. And then she comes in at a certain point when they're ready, when the clients are ready, when I was ready. And she literally shows us our own soul, which so many of us have never experienced and never seen. When I met my own soul for the first time, I thought it was God. It was so magnificent and so incredible. I'm like, there's no way this is me. This has got to be God. We're just so disconnected from that. And so she brings us into that space where we can remember who we are from God's perspective. And in doing that, she removes the masks that we hide behind that prevent us from seeing ourselves. And when we get done with her, then we move to the highest level, the creme de la creme, which is Eric, and he's a bald eagle and a pug, which is really interesting.
Uh-huh.
But he helps us soar through multi dimensions. He's a past life integrator, and he introduces us to our intergalactic selves. So he offers us incredible protection as we learn to move into those outer realms and learn to expand our consciousness and project our consciousness. So they all have different skills that they use with us and with my clients. And with me, my healing, when I would sit in meditation and I would have a purpose for why I was sitting in meditation. I want to know about, why do I have these self-judgments? Why do I feel like I'm not loved or I can't be loved? And so I'd go into the meditation, and in that meditation, that guide would work with me. And I had no idea this is what was happening at the time, but the guide would come in and work with me, and my body would react and facilitate. You could see the healing coming in, and the energy was so intense. I would just start to shake. And sometimes I would have a silent scream as all this energy just came bursting out of me, and I couldn't hold it in. I just had to let it go. And the more they kind of rotor rooted all of that deep and impacted pain and suffering, the more I was free to expand into my outer limits and to absorb more of my pure soul. Our pain keeps our soul from coming fully into this body because we only have so much room in this body to hold our soul. So when we have pain and suffering and beliefs and karma and ancestral patterns that keep us trapped in the same loops, we can't absorb all of our soul energy. So that began to happen. And then all of a sudden, when Eric started working with me, I discovered that, I can go to other dimensions. I can go to other planets. I can visit with other races. I have 8 light languages now I didn't know I had before. Everything just opened up so fast. And it was a quick ride. I was just holding on, totally trusting in the process, but moving so fast. I'm not even the same person I was at the beginning of 2022. I've completely changed. I even changed my name because of it, because energetically the old name didn't match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like she just took us on the ride too.
It's amazing. Like, do you have someone in your life, like your best friend, your husband, your kids, or whoever, like that you share this with, and what was their reaction?
Well, my husband's been by my side the whole time, and he's very supportive and he's very allowing, which is that is important, but he doesn't believe in any of this. And none of my family believes in any of it. And I don't really have a best friend because I'm a star seed and I've always been a loner. So I've not had anybody walk with me side by side through this process. That's why I leaned on a mentor that could kind of teach me what I needed to know and let me know I'm not crazy when things started to really open up. But yeah, so I just have my husband who's there to, support me, but I can't really share the true inner workings of what's happening with him. So
yeah,
we understand that.
Yeah, it's a common phenomenon, I do believe. And I'm okay with that because I'm okay with where I am. The old me would be very insecure about that.
Yeah.
But I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, that's good. That helps a lot when you can accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes with my experience with working with clients and my own husband and, just that kind of thing, sometimes they'll surprise you. Like a few years will go by and little by little, he hears little snippets and all of a sudden he's kind of like, I'm a little open. What? Wait, what's that about? And all of a sudden it's opening up to him, understanding it a bit more. And I feel like that intuitively, I'm getting that's what's going to happen for you.
Yeah. I'm hoping, but I'm walking my own path. So if he comes along, that's okay. If he doesn't, that's his path.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we hear that you have some messages for one of us.
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and share?
Yes. I would love to share.
Here.
What, Kim? What, Kim?
333 Pacific time here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Today, and I want to share my findings. So when I work with my clients, I first connect with their energy before I get into a session with them. And when I do that, I actually embody their energy, their oversoul, and have a little chat with the higher portion of ourselves. And while I'm doing that, I also invite in the canine spirit guides to share with us what needs to happen for this soul in order for the soul to move on confidently and competently along their path. So that's what I did with Eden. And little darling Eden, you appeared to me in this space. You just kind of floated in, and you were wearing a red cape. And I'm not sure what that red cape was about, but they said that it would have some significance for you, a red cape. It was just flowing in the wind.
I have to think. I mean, what comes to mind first is Little Red Riding Hood, but I don't know how that's significant for me.
Okay. So that might come to you a little bit
Okay.
later. But
Yeah.
yeah, they wouldn't even tell me. They just said that you would know. So when I first embodied your energy, I felt like it was hard to breathe, and I felt like I was floating, and I couldn't figure out if it was water. Am I floating in space? And finally, I realized I was floating in space out in the stars. And then I noticed that I'm wearing a suit, a space suit. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I said, "Where is she?" And she's in outer space. Well, is she an astronaut? She's an astronaut. And I said, "Well, what's happening? Why is she floating in outer space?" And because what I'm feeling in my chest is that you can't breathe. Like it's getting harder and harder to breathe. And like the chest just can't even lift up anymore. And so what I'm seeing then is that you had an accident when you were outside of the spaceship, and you bumped your head, and you were knocked out, and then you floated off into the distance away from the ship, and you suffered a death out in space all by yourself, which is very traumatic. And I couldn't figure out, how is this happening? You were a man. So I said, okay, this isn't this lifetime.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? I said, is this a past life? Where is she? What time is it? And it appears that this is a concurrent life that's happening, or was happening simultaneously to this one.
Oh.
And this was, as they explained to me, a regressed timeline. So and it was in the 70s. They're showing me that like the 1970s era, and you were you were a man in a secret space program. So there was, and back in the 70s, we didn't have the media that we do now, of course. So there wasn't a whole lot of news around this event of losing an astronaut in space. But because of this, there was a lot of sense of fear because you were dying alone. There was a sense of claustrophobia, because you can't breathe and you're covered in the suit, anxiety. And so there's a lot of shallow breathing and a lot of pressure on the chest. And what you've done is your oversoul has absorbed this energy back in, but you have volunteered to integrate this energy through this lifetime, to process this grieving and this fear. And there's a bit of a sense of betrayal since you were left alone, abandoned, and also a bit of a sense of failure because you didn't complete your mission, you didn't make it back to your family. And there's a lot of unresolved issues that have to be integrated before that lifetime can completely be absorbed. So you volunteered to do that which is why I asked you before we got on air, have you been feeling a little bit of grieving process or any sort of sadness that you don't understand lately? Because that's kind of what was pulling into your field. So how does that resonate with you, Eden, if you want to comment for the audience?
So what you described is also something in a different form that I've been experiencing here in this lifetime. So the same feelings because of something that happened, because of a loss.
Awesome.
So is that why why it happened in this life?
Yeah, it was bringing through that energy.
Okay.
Yeah, so that energy, it was already in your energetic field, and it was just bubbling over, trying to find a place. And because you're not conscious of it, it's attracting other events to bring your awareness to it.
Okay. So the best thing I imagine to do is embrace it.
Yeah, well, we're going to heal that for you today.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Thank you for listening to Talk Purpose and Truth podcast. Find out more at talkpurposeandtruth.com. And follow us at Talk Purpose Truth on Instagram and Facebook.